Everest World Time, not much to say, just another slight improvement. This was definitely on pace to be sub 10 minutes, but you'll see why it ended up a 12-minute time instead. Final time was 12 minutes and 11 seconds. So, yeah, let's get started. I'm placed behind what could be some very useful signs, and I just check the other direction just to see if there's anything there. But when I look at the sign, it turns out it's actually like incredibly useful. It says I'm on the 158 going towards Salzburg, in between St. Gilgen and then St. Wolfgang, and I can turn for Fundel and then keep on going for St. Wolfgang über Rosbach. So, Salzburg, major city in Austria, sound of music, yada yada. Compass says I'm going west towards Salzburg, so I look for the 158, and then I find it after I found St. Gilgen. So I see Wolfgang in Salzkammergut, and I think that's probably the one that's 14 kilometers away. So I start to look for Fundel, and then the other St. Wolfgang east of that. I don't see Fundel initially. Just zooming in, I can see some other names, but I don't see the one I'm looking for. And I realize once you go like far east enough on this road, it stops being the 158 and it doesn't point in the correct direction anymore. So I just zoom in back on the road, and there I find Fundel, and that looks like the road that we started at that turned off towards Fundel. Turns out it's known as something called a cadastral community in Austria, which is just for like keeping track of property records and whatnot. But we're way into round two now. And I see this sign here. It says Mount Kenya Eco Camp. And so it tells me two things. Number one, we're in Kenya. And number two, um, I've actually had this round before. So I go to try to find the town name, and it's called Nanyuki. So I've had this round before. And when I had it before, I couldn't find the right road in the town to put the marker down. I actually had like zero trouble finding Nanyuki on the map in Kenya. My cursor ended up being like right over it, which I didn't know where it was. I just got kind of lucky. I was planning on just starting the middle and looking around. I'm looking for roads that go off to the right, and I find Mount Kenya Eco Camp on the map. So I put the marker down. I figure that's the road I'm on. But there was also another road to the north that could have been a contender, but the angle that it was going at was wrong. So I know that this is the right road. I go to make the guess, but I just go back to the start to confirm that I was pretty close to the road. And then I accidentally moved my cursor right as I was about to click the guess. I think it would have still been close enough, but it was just funny. I had to go back and place it in the right spot again. I'm not sure which way to go at the start in round number three. I end up going to the south, but when I do, I pretty quickly get capped and I can't go any farther. And so this is actually encouraging because every round is kind of like a 50-50 at the start on which way you should go. And so if you can rule out the wrong direction like quickly, that means you can start going in the right direction faster. Anyways, we're crossing a river, and I zoom in on this sign, and it says we can go towards Liceu using the N260. So that tells me we're in Spain. That's what their signs look like in Spain. But I haven't heard of Liceu, so I'm just going to try to keep on going in that direction to see if I can find more information. These signs are actually super helpful because it says we came from Arfa and that we're going towards Liceu de Urgell. So uh, that double L, normally in Spanish it's like a ya, but because of where it was like positioned in the word, I knew that it was like probably Catalan instead, where it's more like a ya instead of a ya. Anyways, while I've been explaining that, I found the N260, I found Liceu, and I zoomed in because it says that we're going east towards Liceu. I zoomed in and found Arfa, and I also saw the river that we crossed. So I know we like went along the south bank of the river, and to get to that point, I went like sort of north and northeast. So I just put the marker there, and it's close enough. And we're on to round four. Straight away, I see a Pemex, so I know I'm in Mexico. That's like the gas station, probably like a state-sponsored thing. I don't know. I see some helpful highway signs. This one is closer, and when I zoom in, it says that we're going towards Ciudad Victoria, and we can turn for Gonzales Villarreal. So it also says that we're on the 101, and we can turn onto the 14. So that's helpful. I kind of don't remember where Ciudad Victoria is, so I go check the other sign, and this one's even more helpful because it says Matamoros. So I know where that is because I've actually been there. My first time ever leaving the country, ever leaving the U.S., was going to lunch in Matamoros with family friends from Brownsville. So I find both of them on the map, and I just look kind of in the middle, and there's the 14, there's Gonzalez Villarreal. I put the marker down at the intersection, and I go back to the start just to confirm where I started, and we started right in that little triangle intersection. So I make the guess, get the 5,000, and at this point I take a little pause. I don't have the splits up or anything, but I know that I'm on like really good pace. I'm like, holy shit, this could be a good run. So here we go. Round number 5. I'm thinking, okay, this looks pretty rural, but depending upon how quickly I can find information, it could be good. And when I go to this intersection, initially I'm really happy because this is Denmark. Those red signs are characteristic of Denmark, and the place names are that were in between Sunderskov and Guldborg, and the other one said Sundby. So my plan was to go towards Sunderskov. I hadn't heard of any of these names. My plan was to go towards Sunderskov because it was closest, and it ends up taking me through this like path with really tall trees, very dense, not very open, and um, at first I was like, well, should I have gone the other way? But then I get to this opening, I'm like, okay, maybe it'll be close, but I start to realize that I've probably traveled like more than a kilometer, like the sign said, and I haven't really seen any sort of like town or houses or anything. But at this point, I'm pretty committed. I'm just gonna keep on going this direction. Here's a little park. I'm like, okay, maybe this is Sunderskover. Maybe this is something where I can find some more information. I get to this section where it looks like a fire station and then like some houses, and I'm not even sure if the Google car is gonna like be able to go through that area, but it does. I get funneled onto this road that points to the east, but that's okay. I'm just trying to go, and it looks more open here. I'm just trying to go to like a main road at this point. Um, it takes a few seconds. I'm just gonna skip ahead to where I get to the main road. There's a house. One more skip. Oh, there it is. Okay. So that says we came from a place called Vennerslund, which I didn't recognize. And I have a choice. Do I want to go south or north? I see like a house to the north, and I'm thinking that that's probably like where a town is. So that's where I decide to go. I go to the north, and after a little ways down this road, again, I'm gonna skip ahead until I get to the clue. There it is. Village name, it's called Lundby. Okay, that was similar to Sundby, so, but it's not the same. So I'm just gonna go until I get more information. Here's some more signs. It says we can turn left for Sundby and Guldborg, which we saw earlier, or we can turn right for Lumelev and Brarup. So I haven't heard of any of these names. At this point, I'm thinking I don't know if it's gonna be worth it to go to any of the other towns because I'm just gonna find more place names that I haven't heard of that are too small. So I'm just gonna scan the whole country. Denmark isn't that big, so I'm just gonna scan and look. I start on like Jutland, which is like the main sort of the biggest land area of the country, and I just start going south from there. Um, and spoiler alert, it's not on this part, so I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. There were like a couple of place names that were close, but I know it can't just be like one character off, like spelled wrong. That one right there, it says Brerup, but we were looking for Brarup, so it's not right. So on we go. We're reaching the bottom of Jutland, and there's Esbjerg, and eventually we're gonna scooch on over. I'm still scanning here. There's the Germany border, and now we cross over to some of the other islands. This is where Odense is, and I think I'm just gonna let it play for the next few seconds because it's not on this island, but in just a second we're gonna get over to this one called Lolland, and you can see on the screen right now one of the names, but I didn't notice it. I cross and I go up here to Shaland and I see Lundby, and I'm like, okay, that's one of the place names. That's actually where I am right now. I don't see any of the other ones, but I figure maybe they're too small. I go back to the start because I thought, what was it called? Sverdborg? I thought that looked familiar, like similar to one of the ones I saw at the start, but at the start it wasn't Sverdborg, it was called Sunderskov. So, not correct. And this is where I sink a lot of time. At this point, I'm just getting all the place names. Sundby Sunderskov, Guldborg on the screen, and I'm planning on looking for them, zooming in, but there's like nothing. When I zoom in on Lundby, there's nothing. Um, I zoom in on some of the other towns, and there's nothing. So I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit. But basically, what I end up doing is I look at the road names that you can see on the map, and I try to find if any of them match, but they don't. And so I'm about to give up and look elsewhere, but I zoom in here, and this is where I kind of look at some of the road names, and none of them are kind of what I'm looking for. I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit. I don't want to like accidentally miss something. So this is where I left it on like the adjacent town, and this is where I zoom in on the signs. It says Sunderskove and Nordskove, and I don't see either of those. So I'm thinking, okay, this isn't right. I zoom out. I just go to the south a little bit, and then I see Guldborg just right in the corner of the screen. I zoom in. There's Lundby, another Lundby, Brarup, Lemelev, Sundby. It's all right there. So I'm kind of looking. I remembered that I went towards Sunderskov to get to Lundby, so I went south initially. So I'm thinking I'm kind of north of Lundby at first, but when I zoom in, like on that road, it's just as Lum 11. I didn't see any of that. There's Sunby, and I see Sunby Vey, so I'm thinking, okay, this might be right. That says Sunby Skove. It's not those two, but spoiler alert, it is the other road that we're at the intersection with. I'm just gonna let it play out. I'm not gonna skip ahead anymore. I'm zooming in. I'm just looking, and then I go out of the map right here. I'm like, what was that other road called again? And it was called Sundbyskove. And so I zoom in. Sundbyskove is right there. Okay, this is it. And then I find Sunderskove, and there's another road to the west. I go back to the start. That's where I am. I make the guess, and I still beat my time. There we go. Center myself with the camera. 12:11 was the final time. Beat my previous best by like 50 seconds, but the splits kind of are misleading because I was ahead of my previous best by like 2.5 minutes, but then I had like a 6 minute round in round five. So even if I had gotten like a 3 minute round, that would have been like an 8 minute time. But instead, I got a 7 minute round because I just ran myself in circles in Denmark. So just to recap, I beat my previous time, but it was like a slog to the finish. I was definitely aware during the run that I was on good pace, and it turns out that each of my first four rounds were like faster than 90 seconds, including the round in Mexico, which was my first sub-minute round that I had in a PB. There were two moments in particular in Denmark that could have shaved off a lot of time, but in the end, they were both like incorrect guesses on 50-50s. Right at the start, if I had gone to Guldborg instead of towards Sunderskov, I likely would have been able to find where I was faster. The other one was I reached the road to Lundby, and if I had gone south instead of north, I would have run into the E47, and hopefully that would have led me to a faster time as well. In the end, though, the biggest thing that I could have done to save time that was in my control was to not spend as much time in the wrong Lundby. Normally, I would like reset a run that had such a big mistake, but I knew my pace was good in the beginning, so I just decided to get the 5,000 in Denmark, no matter how long it took. And in the end, it was just fast enough for a PB, but it was still disappointing that it wasn't an even faster time. I have another ADW video in the works, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.